I have not done a Duende video in such a long time. What is wrong with me? So there are 3 siblings and they're all between the ages of 10 and 14. Their parents' friends had invited them over to stay at their house for a weekend. Mind you, this was going to be the first time they ever visit their parents' friend's house. When they arrived, they are all excited because they had no idea what to expect. They realized that their parents' friend is rich. All they saw was like a giant house, land, a ravine. Like, it was exciting for them because it was a new place for them to explore. So on the first day there, they explained that the family friend had taken them on a tour of the land and the house and was just like explaining all the plants to them and things like that. Obviously, it was a lot of information, so they really didn't take any of that in because they were so busy just looking at everything. However, at the end of that tour is when they said that the first weird thing happened, and that was that the family friend, the guy, explained to them that they had 3 rules when staying at his home. At this point, it was him, his wife, his kids, and the 3 kids that are telling the story and their parents. And he says that the rule number 1 is to always remember that there are no other people around here other than us. Other than the people who are in this room, no one else is out there. These people lived on the edge of town, and yeah, there were no neighbors around them, but they thought it was weird that he was just telling them like, there's no one out there. We are the only people here. You need to remember this. That's number 1 rule. He then explains that if you are inside of the gate of this house, you are safe. You will always be safe inside of the gated area. Rule number 2, it doesn't matter who it is, what they're asking of you. If somebody outside of that gate asks to come hang out or just simply wants to talk to you, do not go outside of that gate. Remember that here we are alone, and again, the only people here is us. So if somebody calls you, please do not listen to them. And at this point, the kids and even their parents were looking at each other like, what the fuck? Rule number 3, if you see somebody on the gate or sitting at the gate almost like they're waiting for you to come up to them, do not get close to them. I'm gonna give you some information and I hope that you will never need it. But if anything happens, do you guys see that little lake over there? And all the kids trying to look and they're like, yes. He says, if anything bad ever happens and you have managed to get outside of that gate, you need to run to that little lake and step your feet into it. Do not go into the deep end, just stick your feet at the edge of that lake and you will be fine. In that moment is when the man turns around, looks at the kid's dad with a little smile on his face and says, I scared them, didn't I? And that's when their dad gave like a little relief because he was also scared because he's like, why is this man saying this? But at that point he figured out that he was trying to scare them and it was a joke. So they all went to bed, and the next morning the kids woke up super early because they were ready to explore. All day they had been going up and down, playing with the balls, going around, running. They did everything that they could do. And as you guys know, kids will be kids, and eventually they got bored, and to them there was nothing else left to do. And it was in that moment when they were sitting outside, bored, just with nothing else to do, that they saw a little girl. She had red hair, a lot of freckles on her cheeks, kind of look over the fence. When she peeked over, she whispered to the kids, guys, come over here, let's play. There's a lot of kids over here waiting for you, come on. As soon as that girl said that, they all started hearing a whole bunch of voices of little kids playing on the outside of that fence. In that moment, the 14-year-old, their older sister, got excited because that girl looked to be her age, and even the kids that were laughing on the other side of the fence kind of sounded like they were similar in age to her. Without even thinking twice, she turns to her siblings and tells them, tell dad that I went with them to go play, and she starts walking towards the gate. The girl goes up to the gate, grabs that other girl's hand because at that point she's like, come on, let's go. And as soon as she grabs her hand, she screams so loud and she just gets pulled to the other side of the fence. In that moment, her younger siblings run towards their parents because obviously they heard their scream and they were scared. They also saw that that girl had pulled their sister over, and they could see like in between the grass just moving that the girl was taking their sister. They also thought it was weird because when they were running to their parents were also outside. It's crazy that the parents did not hear the scream of the older sister. So obviously they get to the parents, they're crying, they're screaming, and they tell the parents that this red-headed freckled girl took their older sister over the gate. So very calmly, the owner of the house, the guy that gave him the tour, the family friend, gets up, gets the girl's dad and the older sibling of the girl and tells them, come with me, let's go inside. Obviously the dad's like, what do you mean let's go inside? We need to go for the girl. And he was like, just wait, just calm down, let's go inside. As they're walking in, the dad sees that he has like a whole bunch of guns just like stacked on a wall. However, the man doesn't go for the guns, and the dad's like, hello, are we gonna get the guns? And the owner of the house was like, no, that is not gonna help us. At that that point, the owner of the house was like, listen, relax. If she listened to the rules that I gave her, she's gonna be fine. We need to do this the right way. Just give me a second. This man grabs 3 sacks, and in the sacks, he puts candy, salt, and then more candy. He hands it to the kid, hands one to the dad, and he gets one for himself. He tells them, do not let go of that sack. You're gonna have to have that with you the entire time, and that's how we're gonna get your daughter back. By this point, the dad, that the girl's father was like, this guy is fucking crazy. Like, my daughter's being taken, and you're putting salt and candy in a fucking bag. Like, what are we doing? What is going on? And the dad's friend's like, please trust me, we're gonna get her back. Everything's gonna be fine. Just do what I say. So they end up getting into this man's truck, and the dad at this point is worried because they're not even going the way that the daughter was taken. However, the guy, his friend, reassures him, like, I know a shortcut. I know where they're taking her. We're gonna go this way. So they get to a point where they can no longer drive through, and they had to get off and walk the rest of the way. Once they get off and start walking, they finally hear the girl screaming again. The family friend screams back at the girl, just telling her to stay put, that they're about to go get her, and they happen to go where the ravine is. At this point, the dad and the son have no idea what's going on. There's no rhyme or reason. They just know that they need to get the daughter. They finally get to where the girl is, and she has her feet ankles deep into the ravine, so obviously she did listen to what the man said. However, they did notice that she has bruises and like scratches all over her body. At this point, the family friend tells her, stay there, nothing's gonna happen to you, give me one moment. And he walks a little closer to the ravine where there was almost like a little cave entrance. When he gets to the entrance of that cave, he asks the dad and the son for those sacks. He throws the first one in and says, this is because you put us in danger. He throws the second sack in and says, this is so you don't bother us anymore. He gets the third sack and he throws it in and says, and this is because you mess with really good people. He turns around, gathers everybody up, the daughter, the friend, and the son, and he says, they're not gonna bother us anymore, let's go. As they're driving away, everybody is silent because at this point they're just like in shock, and that's when he turns to them and he says, the duendes of the ravine don't like salt. They don't like for anybody to ruin their candy. It's something that they hate, and the salt is gonna burn them, and they're gonna get burned because they're gonna try to eat those candies. And don't worry, nothing's gonna happen to your kids. They hate the water, which is why the kids were safe if they were to step foot in that river, in the ravine, wherever there's water. At this point, he turns to the little boy and he's like, remember that girl, the one that took her? And it was in that moment where the girl immediately responds and says, it wasn't a girl, that was not a girl. And the guy's like, hold on a second, I need to ask your brother, I need to make sure he understands. Did you see the girl's hands? And the boy was like, yes, they were full of mud, they were dirty. And the guy's like, it's because they live inside of that cave by the ravine. And that's when he turns to the girl and says, go ahead and tell your brother why that wasn't a little girl. And the girl turns to her brother and says, the second that I touched that girl's hand, her entire face changed, and it was just an ugly creature looking thing, and the hands were really dirty and muddy, and it was terrible. I just want to know why the fuck she didn't even think twice about leaving and going with that girl, even though I'm pretty sure all of that were part of the 3 rules, like don't go outside, don't go outside, don't go outside, we're alone, we're alone, we're alone. Why the fuck would she just go? She's 14. You can't even say like she was 6 or 7. Would you guys have gotten tricked? Because I don't feel like I would have. I would have been so scared. There's no way I would have gone to that gate. But then again, she had been playing with her siblings all day. Honestly, yeah, my siblings would have pushed. I would have jumped over the gate to get away from them. But anyway, what do you guys think?